Hey everyone, welcome to ZoomInfo's webcast entitled How to Source Top Candidates at Scale in 2022. We appreciate you joining us today, and we're going to kick things off with our experts shortly. But first, I need to cover a few housekeeping items. So to start with, if you are experiencing any technical issues right now with viewing, please let us know by utilizing the Q&A chat that's on the right side of your screen. Just as a nice tip here, if you are having trouble hearing us or seeing us, go ahead and refresh your window. And since this is a web-based platform, sometimes it just needs a hard refresh. For Q&A, we are going to be using a Q&A chat to ask that you can use to ask our experts any questions that you may have. So feel free to submit questions throughout this presentation as they come up. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait till the end to answer them. At the end of today's event, we'll just cover those questions and try to get through as many as we can. And again, to submit those questions, on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll have a Q&A chat box that you can go ahead, enter those questions as they come up. We're happy to answer them. And then for the recording, we are recording this webcast, and you will receive a copy or a link to watch this recording in an email within 48 hours after we conclude today. So keep an eye on your inbox so that you can rewatch this. And then lastly here, we have our safe harbor statement, which you see on the screen. It has been on the screen. And this is our last housekeeping item. And what I want to say here is that ZoomInfo is a publicly traded company, and this presentation may contain forward-looking statements. And any buying decisions that you make should be based on our current available product offerings. And our complete safe harbor statement is here so that you can review it, but we will also add it into the Resource Center for any further review. And with that, let's get to the fun part here. So I want to introduce our experts today, and I'll give everyone a second to say hi and introduce themselves. I'll just quickly start with myself. I'm Lauren Hogan, and I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager working on our ZoomInfo Recruiting OS product. I also have Bonnie Fleischer and Mark Lockett. Bonnie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me today. Hi, everyone. My name is Bonnie Fleischer. I'm a Learning and Development Manager here at ZoomInfo, and I have the opportunity day-to-day to help our clients and train them on our Recruiting OS platform. So I'm excited to go through it with you today and show how you can automate some of that process, grab the really great data you need on your candidates, and reach out to them at scale through your projects.
Hi, guys. My name is Mark Lockett. Thanks for having me here today, Lauren. I am a former talent acquisition diversity recruiter manager here at ZoomInfo. Currently, I'm a program coordinator working on a lot of the same D&I type of strategies with creating more inclusive hiring practices.
Awesome. Yeah, Mark really brings to the team here his expertise in on the ground being a recruiter and working in operations. So we're very excited to have him join myself and Bonnie today. And that leads me into our agenda. So we've already done intros, check, and then we're going to start talking about the challenges that come with talent pool management, and then we'll jump into a live demo and talk a little bit more about how Recruiting OS can help you overcome those challenges, especially in 2022 as things are just ever evolving in the recruiting industry. And then we'll close out the half an hour with Q&A from the audience. So let's jump in. And on this slide, this is a day in the life. And let me start by asking everyone who's attending right now, how many of you can relate to this slide? I think that when you look at all the different challenges that recruiters have to go through in order to get a candidate, what we're hearing from recruiters commonly is that you're starting in your ATS, you're looking for candidates that you might have spoken to in the past, but what the blocker here is outdated and missing information. And then you're going to head into LinkedIn, start sourcing candidates. And again, you might send InMail, but you're not going to have a response. And with low response rates on InMail, how do you stand out from the competition? And ZoomInfo Recruiting OS really offers the way for recruiters like yourself to be able to view candidate contact information and help overcome some of these blockers. And then moving on, So the problem here is that a lot of times it's hard and challenging to connect with candidates offline. And if you send too many bad emails, they send you to LinkedIn jail, which is becoming one of my most favorite terms that I hear from recruiters, because I feel like you shouldn't be put in a position where you're certainly unable to contact candidates and do your job effectively. And then moving on in this process, it's all about how can you reach candidates? How can you manage that talent pool, get in contact with the candidates you want to get in contact with, and then ultimately get them into the hiring seat. And I feel like this is certainly a day in the life that many of our recruiters tell us about. I'm sure Mark has kind of gone through this process himself, and we're excited to kind of talk a little bit more about the solutions that we have at all of these different roadblocks. And let me go ahead and just put up that question to you. How many of you guys can go ahead and relate to that slide? Like when you look at it, does it give you pause? And I'm just going to go ahead and jump ahead. Let's see. No responses quite yet. But let's keep going in here. So we're diving to like the heart of the pain here. It's like there is more competition than ever to find candidates today. And what does this look like when you're looking at numbers and stats, and how do we qualify it on our end? And it is that almost everybody in the recruiting industry is on LinkedIn, a social media site. Obviously, you have access to a lot of information that's current for candidates. And you're using LinkedIn to get a hold of these candidates that you're interested in. And we have stats that anywhere between 10 to 18% is the common response rate. And then when you're looking at that number of emails, that are being sent in any given 14-day period, when you go to hire at scale, it becomes really challenging to hire for multiple roles. And that's where we want to help. And when I walk through these kind of challenges, and I think about this in the terms of I'm hiring for maybe 5 different roles here. In order to get enough candidates to fill my 5 roles, we're looking at weeks. And that might not be fast enough, especially for those of you that maybe are in staffing agencies that need to fill positions quickly, or even I know here at ZoomInfo, we're hiring really quickly and fast, and we need to fill those positions fast to hit our business needs. And so I just want to pause here because I think Mark has the experience on the ground floor here, and maybe he could tell us a little bit more about the hardest parts of connecting with candidates and getting a hold of them from his experience.
Sure, Lauren. And that's a great question, and I'm sure a relevant issue to every recruiter that's here. For me personally, the hardest part of connecting with candidates is always going to be that outreach piece. Here at ZoomInfo, we utilize a tool where we can text, call, and email different candidates all from our computer, which makes things easier. LinkedIn works, when it works, but as you just mentioned, that 10 to 18 response rate is pretty low. So even if you have a clever subject line, great content in the body of the message, after all of that, your candidate may not even see it, let alone respond if they do. So the texting, the calling, email app has definitely been super helpful.
Absolutely. I think that's like a really great point too, Mark. I had seen a stat recently that something like 80% of candidates out there are expecting to hear from recruiters through phone, through text, through emails. And so certainly trying to meet candidates where they want to be met is where I think everyone wants to go, and when they're looking at their tech stack and what they can add to it.
I think that's a great point, especially when thinking about LinkedIn. If I hit you on LinkedIn, I'm one of maybe 100 messages that you're getting. But if you get a notification on your phone, nowadays, most people always have their phone in their hand. So it's definitely a more effective way to get a candidate's attention.
Yeah, great call out. That's a great call out. I think we're all looking at our phone more often than we would like to admit. Right? Yeah. And then, that leads us, I think, to introducing how Recruiting OS can kind of help solve some of these problems here, and how we can help recruiters like yourselves who are attending this webinar today to build out a talent pool and manage their talent pool. And when I think about it, it's like, how are you going to get alternative ways to find and connect with those candidates that go beyond just InMail and gets you out of LinkedIn and is not limiting to, not limiting based on what's available to you. And we believe that within Recruiting OS, we really open the door to help our recruiters find and filter and find best fit candidates. And we do this through a number of different ways. And the reason that we've built out some of these features is that as we look to 2022 and beyond, there's a need for data that is accurate and intelligent so that you can go out into the talent market and really make decisions that are based on data. And we can do that and provide that solution multiple ways. So the first here is that within the Recruiting OS platform, we do have the ability to build projects. I'm sure a term that many of you are familiar with. And what this means is that there's the ability to build multiple talent pools within a given project, so that you can search for an account manager on the East Coast and on the West Coast, or an account manager and an account executive, and still pull those candidates into the same talent pipeline and work them through that talent pipeline. But you don't have to have two different searches in two different areas. You can pull those candidates together, which we think is really unique within ZoomInfo Recruiting OS. And then we have smart search filters, which Bonnie will get into, but just ways to build that talent pool based on the filters that you're used to using, like job title, location, experience level. And then we also have proprietary search filters like likely to listen or diversity and inclusion filters that are really meant to help recruiters take it to the next level and help accomplish some of those industry goals, like adding more diversity into your talent pipeline. And then lastly, we do offer a way for our recruiters to also track candidates as they move through the talent pipeline and before you're getting them into that hiring seat. And so I want to stop here, and I have a question for the audience, which is, what is your biggest challenge when building a talent pool? And while I give you guys some time to fill that piece of information out, I just also want to pause and ask Mark this. Mark, what is your biggest challenge in building talent pools when you were recruiting?
Sure. It's interesting you asked. I think building a talent pool is honestly probably the easy part. Once you've settled on a candidate profile and a skill set that you want to work with, it's very easy to say, okay, Lauren checks these boxes, or no, she doesn't, and then throw that person into the talent pool. The hardest part, especially for me, I like talking to people and interacting with people, but in able to do that, you have to find them. So having a sourcer would make that a lot easier. Someone to help identify the people that check all of those boxes and getting them into the talent pool, so that I can get on the phones and do what I like to do, which is talking to people and having those conversations about why ZoomInfo is such a great place to work. So the talent pool is not super hard. It's more so kind of the redundant and arduous nature of sourcing and finding people that can be the challenge.
Yeah, that certainly seems like that could be quite the challenge. I get that too. It's like your skills strength is selling our business, and why you should join ZoomInfo. Less time trying to build out what that talent pool is going to look like. Exactly. And then really quickly, before we pass off our time here today to Bonnie to show us a little bit more, I also just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into building the talent pool, what that looks like within Recruiting OS. And what that means for us here is that we've heard that some of the common challenges and pain is, like, as Mark said, it's, you can build a talent pool, but then what's next? And I think when it comes to projects and how to leverage Recruiting OS, we allow for multiple talent pools so you can source candidates with diverse backgrounds. You can add filters and what you need to find the candidates that are best fit for the roles that you're hiring for, like Mark alluded to, really quickly, so that you can focus on what happens next. And for us, that's automating your outreach, being able to export candidates into Engage and quickly send them email drip campaigns or one-off emails that are personalized. You can do it at scale. You can send to a mass amount of candidates all at once. And you can even export candidates into your ATS. So we really do want to get you to that communication with candidates as fast as possible. And so what I'm going to do here before we pass off to Bonnie is kind of just like cue up an example, because I don't know about you guys, but the way that I like to always look at our platform is based on how would I think about using this. And so for today, I think the example that I just kind of want to queue up is like, let's search for an account manager, someone who has maybe 10 years of experience and they are in the insurance industry. And we're just going to use that example to really show you how Recruiting OS can get you to build a talent flow really quickly with a robust group of candidates, and then show you what's next and how you can get connecting with those candidates as quickly as possible. And so with that, I will pass it off to Bonnie.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And Mark, that was very good information to have as we go into the platform and show how the Recruiting OS platform is really going to help with any sort of pain points that you have. Just before I go, can you both verify that my screen is on your screen?
Yes, yes, it is.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right, team. So when we do log into our Recruiting OS platform, we have all of this valuable data that we're going to be able to acquire on these candidates for our particular requisition. So we're going to come into our projects here. And the nice thing about projects is they can be collaborative. So you're going to have all of the projects across your team if they're public, and you're able to see where candidates are throughout the pipeline in various requisitions. So this is the place where you can collaborate. Coming up to creating a new project, we're going to use Lauren's example today. So we're going to have a project name, and we're going to call it an insurance account manager. Spell everything correctly. If you have anything specific specs for that role that you want to include in the description, you have that ability. Then we can add in that job title, and we'll talk a bit more about the job title in a moment. You also do have a location filter here. Now for this role, maybe it is remote just throughout the United States, so you do have the ability to add in all of the United States, or you can segment down by specific states or metro regions, depending on the unique role. This is where you have that functionality of sharing across all of the recruiters in your organization. And then when we hit next, we're going to be presented with a couple additional options to build out this project. So starting with our talent pool, this is going to be, we can name this talent pool. So we're going to name it for our remote AM role. And then additionally, we can add other talent pools. So we are going to use this talent pool a little bit later in our demo today, and we're going to look at some similar companies to the company that I am currently hiring for. So we have 2 talent pools now, and by default, we are going to have 4 stages in the pipeline. The nice thing here is based on your day-to-day outreach, workflow, and strategy, you can build out whatever stages you want. If you need more than 4 or you want to delete some, you have that functionality here. But by default, we'll always give you selected, contacted, replied, and then exported. As Lauren mentioned, you can export into your ATS or into Engage, because you will have Engage as part of your package for our Recruiting OS. When we hit create, this is going to give us the first part of our talent pool. Now here, all it has done is taken our really robust database on our candidates and filtered in anybody who has that account manager role in the United States. From here, we're going to continue to leverage our filters on the left-hand side to really get granular so we have that ideal candidate profile. The first thing I do want to call out is in the job title, we have a really unique feature for similar job titles, because we know from company to company, the job function might be the same, but the actual title might be different. So this gives you the ability, instead of having to go through and individually add in different job titles, we can find all of the different roles that could work in this specific position we're looking to fill. Additionally, from here, we have filters such as keywords and tech skills. I did mention you could get a bit more granular with location if you wanted to. And we're looking in the insurance industry. So this gives us a pick list of all the different industries that we can narrow down to. And as we continue applying these filters, our talent pool will continue to get more and more organized. And then all of your filters are going to be layered on the top here. Something else I like to show is we have this company name, because you can use this as an exclusion as well, whether you're placing as part of a staffing agency or internally doing some recruiting. You don't want to include that company that either you work for or you're placing for. So this is a great feature to have. You can either have it as their current company or any company if you don't want anybody past working there as well. Additionally, we have some filters such as management level and years of experience. So we're looking for anything 10 plus in this particular role. And we have the ability to add that all in. Now on the bottom here is really where we have that additional impact based on the pain points that Lauren and Mark were kind of sharing there. We have that contact data, right? We can look at those that have a personal email and a mobile phone number so that you can reach them directly, skip that in-mail piece. And something else that's really nice here is as we layer in these filters, by default, all of these filters are ORs, but if we really wanted to get that best list of candidates, we can toggle that to an and that way everybody in this list is going to have both their personal email and their personal phone number. Now, as we continue scrolling down, we have additional tags that we can leverage, and tags are great because they're completely customizable for your particular instance. So any other naming conventions you use as you're going along the pipeline of a particular role, you can tag candidates with them and then search for that. Additionally, we have some advanced filters that allow you to look more at the company level. So if you're placing for a specific size of company, we have industry keywords. Another interesting one here is employee growth rate, because if we want to see maybe those companies that have not been performing at a growth rate, we can narrow this down. And that might be some candidates that are more inclined and open to a new role. Now, additionally, some roles that some filters I want to also discuss are this likely to listen, which Lauren talked about a bit, and these smart filters for diversity and inclusion. So turning on this likely to listen is really unique because what this has done is our team has gathered all the intel on trends in specific industries, what the different management levels, what the trends are in terms of leaving roles, and then we've compiled that information so you actually have tangible information as you are reaching out to those candidates to touch upon. So you have more of that personal connection when you are reaching out. And then we have those diversity and inclusion filters. And so here we have that option of and or as well. And this is just to guarantee that you do have that most diverse talent pool, as that is something that is so top of mind for recruiters. Now, we still have a pretty large pool, so we can continue to segment that down further. And as we go through, we'll move those candidates that are most viable into this selected stage. And you can select as many as you want. You can also go into an individual profile to get more insight on that unique individual. And you have a quick access to their LinkedIn because we know that you are going to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn as well. So you do have access to that here. But for those 3 candidates that I did select, in bulk, I can change that stage to selected. And now they're going to move into that selected stage. This is now static until I continue to move them along in the process. And this is where now they're in this project. We can easily identify that. And then the talent pool is that dynamic pool. So this is going to keep adding in new candidates as they filter into the criteria we're adhering to in this search. So really powerful tool here to help you find those most viable candidates. I did also mention that we were going to have a second talent pool, which right here is similar companies. Now, to get started, it's going to be a talent pool of 0, and that's when we're going to start to add in all of the features and filters that are going to be best. And how we're going to go about this is because we are using insurance and an account manager, we're going to look at Geico as a company and go to their company page. The reason being, we have a lot of additional information that we're going to have by going into a unique company page. In particular, I want to call out similar companies because this is going to show you the 25 most similar companies based on industry and size. So then you can kind of go after those folks that are already in the same type of role, in the same type of field. And even from here, we can select all of these companies and tag the companies. And we can tag it with anything we want because this is customizable for me. Then I would add that tag, and all these companies are going to be tagged. Where this is going to become really crucial is when I come back into this talent pool, we'll go back into an account manager role. And then if we only want to look at those similar companies, we can leverage that tag that we just created to narrow down to those that are at that specific company. So really can be helpful here so that you can continue to navigate through those companies that are going to be the most similar to yours. And you can continue to edit these talent pools, create more talent pools, add new stages. In your settings, you'll always be able to add new stages, add new talent pools, see how many candidates are in a particular stage. And then Lauren was mentioning earlier about being able to take action on these particular candidates and how we can reach out to them at scale, but still personalized. And that's where Engage comes into play. Engage comes with your Recruiting OS package. And here we can take these candidates and bring them into Engage at scale, being able to send them out emails, set up follow-up phone calls. So really powerful tool here. And just to kind of follow up on that Engage piece, if we do hop into the Engage platform, you're able to create templates ahead of time. And I'm just going to pull one up so you can see kind of the full functionality here. You can write in whatever copy you'd like, but you're able to leverage mail merge technology to pull in contact data at scale for these candidates. So you have this variables option here where you can pull in all of that valuable information. Additionally, you can add in hyperlinks to these templates, whether it's to the company website or for that particular career page or open role. And even if that candidate does not respond to you, you'll have insight into that they opened the email or clicked on the link. And so you can capitalize on that as you move forward in that recruiting process. So really powerful tool there. And you have real-time information on if they are taking action on what you have sent out. Now, the final piece that I do want to call out here is just through LinkedIn, because by no means are we telling you not to use LinkedIn anymore. We want to help you perform better and close more recs quickly. So if we come in, we know you're going to keep using LinkedIn. So if we have an account manager role and we're looking at specific people, we actually have a reach out extension, which is going to enable you to enrich the data from those candidates you've seen in LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, most of the time, you're not going to be able to access an email or a phone number. Now, by opening this reach out, we have that valuable information with their personal email, personal phone number. And right from here, we could take Courtney. We can add her into Engage, right into that talent flow, or add her right into our project. And she automatically goes into that selected view versus just that talent pool. So this helps you work out of both platforms in succinct. And now we'll have Courtney in our selected pool as well. There she is.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Bonnie.
so that's an overview. It's a lot of information, but hope that that was able to give some good insight into how you can really leverage all these tools together and reach out at scale and stay organized.
Yeah, and I think you did a really wonderful job. And everybody, I know that we're closing in on the last minute here of our webinar time. And so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and I'm going to say that we'll follow up with questions offline just for the sake of time today. And what I also want to do is just thank Bonnie and Mark for joining us and leveraging and giving us some great content and telling us more about Recruiting OS and your background with recruiters. And audience members, I'm going to go ahead and conclude our webinar for today. And I want to thank you all for joining us. And then just as a reminder, we will send the recording of this out within the next 48 hours. And please feel free to share it with your colleagues and anyone in your social networks. And we hope to see you again soon on a ZoomInfo webinar, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us, Lauren.
Thanks.